All right, so today we're diving deep into the world of chess,
Oh, yeah.
specifically the career of Magnus Carlsen.
Okay.
This guy, he's considered like one of the greatest chess players of all time.
Mhm.
And, his record-breaking ELO rating, it really kind of backs that up.
Right, yeah.
But it's not just about like the wins, right? It's more about how he dominates.
Yeah.
And his playing style, it's often described as like universal,
Right.
but also like computer-like,
That's interesting.
which to me seems a bit contradictory.
Yeah.
How can you be like a master of all these different styles,
Yeah.
but also, incredibly precise like a computer?
It's a good question, I think, to unpack that we need to go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Because his story really kind of shows how to become a chess master isn't just about talent. It's also about the foundation that you build from when you're really young.
Right, like you hear about these prodigies.
Yeah.
And he was introduced to chess at 5, but what really struck me was even as a kid, he had this incredible memory. Like he could memorize entire books, not just chess moves.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage in chess.
Right.
Especially at the highest levels. Imagine being able to recall instantly just countless opening variations, pass games, strategic patterns.
Oh, wow.
That kind of mental database is so valuable.
So it's not just raw talent, it's this intellectual foundation that lets him see the board differently.
Yeah, and this is even more clear when you consider that at 13, he got the highest title in chess, Grandmaster.
13, I can't even imagine.
Right.
Like having that kind of mastery in anything at that age.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Reaching Grandmaster that young means you have an almost supernatural understanding of the game.
Wow.
It's like graduating with a PhD when you're still in middle school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, and from there, his career just like skyrockets.
Yeah.
He breaks the 2,800 ELO rating barrier at 18.
Right.
Which I'm assuming puts him in a league of his own.
Oh, yeah. To put it in perspective, most chess players never even reach 2,000. Breaking 2,800 is something that only a handful of players in history have done. It means a level of consistent dominance that's unheard of.
Okay, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And this dominance really culminates in 2013 when he becomes world chess champion.
Right.
He dethroned Viswanathan Anand.
That victory was significant for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Not only did it solidify his spot at the top of the chess world, but it also happened during a time when computer analysis was becoming super prevalent in the game.
Right. That's what I find so interesting.
Yeah.
Here's this young player entering the scene at a time when computers are changing the whole landscape of chess.
Exactly. And that's where these terms, universal and computer-like, really come in.
Right.
Because he was able to not only compete,
Yeah.
but excel in a time when players were using computers to analyze positions and find the best moves.
So how did he do that?
Oh,
Was he just like out-calculating his opponents?
he definitely has amazing calculation skills, but it's more than that. Universal refers to how good he is at every single part of the game. Openings, middle games, end games.
Right.
He's not just good at one thing, he's exceptional at everything.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But what about the computer-like aspect?
Yeah.
Does he just like see the board like a computer,
Well,
calculating millions of variations instantly?
not quite. It's more about his precision and his depth of understanding.
Okay.
He can find winning chances in positions that most players would consider draws.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like he's evaluating things with an accuracy that's, well, machine-like.
So it's like he's combining this vast knowledge base
Yeah.
with this almost superhuman ability to process information.
That's a great way to put it, and this leads to a style that's often described as both strategic and incredibly patient.
I've heard it described as like a python slowly constricting its prey.
Hmm.
What does that even mean, like in terms of how he plays?
Well, he's not really known for making these big sacrifices or like going for quick attacks.
Right.
He often wins by slowly building up small advantages over many moves. He kind of squeezes his opponent, reducing their choices,
Oh, wow.
increasing the pressure until they eventually break.
That sounds so frustrating to play against.
Yeah.
Like he's playing a whole other game.
And that's what makes him so unique. He's
Right.
not just playing to win each game, he's playing to dominate his opponents.
Oh, wow.
Mentally and strategically.
So it's like he's playing the long game.
Right.
Recognizing that every little advantage,
Yeah.
every subtle maneuver contributes to the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's this strategic approach that requires incredible skill, but also a lot of psychological resilience.
Wow.
which we'll see is something he definitely has.
I can already see why he's considered one of the greats, but I'm curious to see this Python-like style in action.
Well, that's where looking at some of his most memorable games is really helpful.
Okay.
Because his brilliance, it's not just theoretical, it's really obvious in how he's beaten some of the best players in the world.
Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah. So are you ready to see this Python in action?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Let's start with his first World Championship victory.
Okay.
Back in 2013 against Viswanathan Anand.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a huge moment for Carlsen.
It was.
And I'm really curious to see how that strategic depth we've been talking about actually played out during the match.
This match is a perfect example of everything we've been talking about.
Okay.
He used this tactic.
Yeah.
It's often called the quiet positional squeeze.
Okay, quiet positional squeeze.
Yeah.
I'm all ears, paint me a picture.
Okay, so imagine this.
Yeah.
Instead of going for these bold attacks or crazy sacrifices, he slowly, almost without you noticing, improves his position over time.
Okay.
He makes his opponent's choices smaller, creates little weaknesses in their defense,
Wow.
and just gradually turns up the pressure until, well, they can't breathe.
It's like he's setting a trap,
Yeah.
but one that takes a long time to snap shut.
Exactly. And that's so hard to play against.
Yeah.
You might not even realize you're in trouble until it's way too late.
Wow, I bet that's mentally exhausting for his opponents.
Oh, yeah.
So, did Anand fall into that trap?
Games 5 and 6 were big turning points in the match.
Okay.
Carlsen was able to get his pieces into these really strong positions, slowly but surely kind of tightening his grip on the whole board.
Right.
Anand, I mean, he's a champion, obviously. He saw the danger.
Yeah.
But Carlsen's moves were so subtle, so small.
Yeah.
It was really hard to figure out a good way to counter them.
It must have been so frustrating for Anand.
Oh, for sure.
It's like trying to fight an invisible opponent.
Exactly, and that's where the psychology comes in.
Right.
It's not just about playing good moves, it's about putting your opponent in a spot where they feel stuck.
Wow.
Like, no matter what they do, they're losing little by little.
So Carlsen basically won by outmaneuvering and outsmarting Anand over a long stretch of time.
Yeah, it was a war of attrition. And Carlsen showed that he had the stamina and the strategic depth to outlast a world-class opponent.
Wow, that's amazing. It's just incredible how much depth there is to chess.
Yeah.
You know, we often think of it as just calculating moves.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's this whole other layer of strategy and psychology.
Absolutely. At that level, chess is as much about understanding your opponent's mind as it is about the actual position on the board.
Okay, I want to talk about another game that was mentioned in the sources.
Okay.
Carlsen's victory against Levon Aronian.
Yeah.
At Wickenense in 2012.
Right.
This one really stood out because it showed his endgame magic.
It did. This game started from a position that many, many grandmasters would consider a draw.
Really?
But Carlsen saw something that others just didn't.
So tell me about his endgame magic.
Yeah.
What makes him so good in these, seemingly equal positions?
It's a few things.
Okay.
First, he's amazingly good at turning even the smallest advantages into wins. Second, he has a really deep understanding of endgame principles, so he can work through complex situations with incredible precision.
Right.
And third, he's incredibly patient.
Okay.
He will wait for his opponent to make even a tiny mistake, even if it takes 50 moves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So in this specific game against Aronian, what was the key moment, the turning point where he got the upper hand?
It wasn't so much one moment
as
it was a series of small moves, each one making his position a little bit better and making Aronian's choices smaller.
Right.
Carlsen slowly took control of important squares,
Oh.
limited how Aronian's pieces could move, and finally he got to a spot where he could force a win.
It's almost like watching a sculptor slowly chipping away at a block of marble, gradually revealing the masterpiece inside.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it shows how important patience and precision are to Carlsen's style. He doesn't rush.
Right.
He's happy to wait for the perfect moment. And then, bam, he strikes with deadly accuracy.
So it's not just about seeing the obvious moves.
Right.
It's about understanding these subtle details.
Yeah.
And being able to use them to your advantage.
Absolutely. Carlsen is amazing at recognizing those tiny shifts in power and making moves that may seem small at first, but they have a huge effect on the game.
This is making me want to go play some chess.
Well, there you go.
All right, one more game I want to talk about.
Yeah.
The 2014 Cinquefield Cup match against Fabiano Caruana.
Okay.
Now, this was interesting because Caruana was having a really great year.
He was on fire.
And a lot of people thought he could challenge Carlsen.
Yeah, this was a real clash of the titans.
Yeah.
Caruana was playing amazing chess, but Carlsen, like always, stayed calm under pressure.
So what defined this game? Was there a specific tactic or a moment that turned things around for Carlsen?
I think this game was more about showing how consistent and tough Carlsen is. Even playing against someone at the very top of their game, Carlsen was able to navigate this complex middle game and outmaneuver Caruana at the end to get a really hard-fought victory.
So it wasn't one big move.
No.
It was more about his ability to stay focused.
Yeah, it showed that even against fierce competition, Carlsen has this incredible ability to stay focused, avoid making big mistakes, and in the end, find ways to beat his opponents.
So we've looked at 3 very different games,
Yeah.
each one highlighting a different part of Carlsen's mastery.
Yeah.
The quiet positional squeeze,
Right.
the endgame magic, and this like unwavering consistency.
Yeah, it really shows why he's considered one of the all-time greats.
Right. It's starting to paint a picture for sure.
And what's even more impressive is that these are just a few examples from a huge collection of brilliant games.
Right.
His career is a testament to his ability to not just win individual games, but to consistently perform at the highest level.
Against the best players in the world.
But it's not just about his individual achievements, right?
Oh, no.
He's had a big impact on the entire chess world.
He has his unique style, his global popularity, and even the controversies he's been involved in have all helped to shape the landscape of modern chess.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about how one person can have such a big influence. You know, we've been talking about his style, his dominance.
Yeah.
But Carlsen, he's also this, like, global icon, right?
Right.
He's gone beyond just the world of chess.
He has.
What I find interesting is how he's really embraced that role.
Yeah.
You know, he's done media appearances, modeling gigs, even been on TV shows.
It is pretty rare for a chess player to be that recognizable to the general public.
Right.
And I think it shows that he gets the power of making chess more popular. He's not content with just being a champion among chess players.
Yeah.
He wants to bring the game to everyone. It's like he's breaking down those stereotypes.
Exactly.
That chess is just this, you know, exclusive intellectual thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's doing it in a way that feels real to him. Whether he's playing fantasy football or modeling for a magazine, he's showing that chess players, they can be well-rounded people with lots of interests.
Yeah, I remember reading that he was like a top-ranked fantasy football player.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty impressive.
It definitely suggests a really sharp mind.
Right.
Being able to process all that information, weigh the risks, make strategic decisions.
Yeah.
Those skills are useful in a lot of different areas.
Absolutely. And it seems like he's using those skills through his company, Play Magnus Group.
Right.
The sources mentioned that they make educational chess tools.
They do. Play Magnus Group is a really cool company.
Yeah.
They've created apps and platforms that make learning chess and playing it much easier.
Right.
And more fun, especially for younger people.
So it's not just about Carlsen winning titles.
Right.
It's about him using his influence to help the game grow.
Exactly.
And to get new players excited.
Yeah, he's using technology to make chess more appealing and to make learning it fun and interactive.
Yeah.
Imagine learning chess from Magnus Carlsen himself through a game. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's like having a personal chess coach right there in your pocket.
Exactly.
Okay, so I got to ask about some of his famous quotes.
Oh, yeah.
There's one that really stands out.
Okay.
The sources mentioned it. It's, some people think that if their opponent plays a beautiful game, it's okay to lose. I don't. You have to be merciless.
That is so Carlsen.
Yeah.
It really shows how competitive he is and how much he wants to be the best.
Right.
He respects his opponents, but he wants to win.
Yeah.
And he's not shy about saying that.
That killer instinct, that drive to be the best.
Yeah.
It's what separates the good from the truly great.
Absolutely. And Carlsen definitely has it. But of course, we can't talk about Magnus Carlsen without talking about the big controversy back in 2022.
Right, with Hans Niemann.
Yeah.
This whole thing really shook up the chess world.
It did.
Carlsen pulled out of the tournament after losing to Niemann, and he basically implied that he thought something fishy was going on.
Yeah, it was a big decision, and it started a lot of discussion about fair play, the role of technology in chess, and how hard it is to catch cheating in online games.
It's interesting how that whole thing forced the chess community
Yeah.
to really face some tough questions
It did.
about whether people were playing honestly.
It definitely showed
Yeah.
how hard it is to keep things fair when
Right.
technology is changing so fast.
Yeah, and while we still don't know exactly what happened, it definitely affected both Carlsen's reputation and the chess world in general.
It's a complicated issue
Yeah.
with no easy answers. But it definitely adds another dimension to Carlsen's legacy.
It does. It shows that even the best of the best are still human. They make mistakes, take risks,
Yeah,
and sometimes have to face really tough choices.
exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Magnus Carlsen's world,
Yeah.
what are your final thoughts?
I think Magnus Carlsen is like a puzzle, a mix of brilliance and complexity. He's a chess prodigy who changed the game.
Right.
He's a global star who made chess more popular.
Yeah.
And he's a controversial figure who made the chess world face some hard truths.
Yeah.
We're still seeing how his story unfolds.
Right.
But he's definitely left his mark on chess history.
We started this whole thing asking,
Yeah.
is his success because of raw talent, a unique style, or some combination of both?
Right.
And I think the answer is,
I think it's all of it.
Yeah.
Carlsen has an incredible natural ability, but he's also worked so hard.
right.
And he's always pushing himself to be better.
Yeah.
He's a strategic genius, a master of psychology, and a fierce competitor who never settles for less than the best.
And that's what makes him so exciting to watch.
Absolutely.
He's not just winning.
Yeah.
He's pushing the limits of what's possible in chess.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting. We didn't just list his accomplishments.
Right.
We looked deeper into his game,
Yeah.
his personality, and his influence.
We've seen how his strategic thinking, his precision, and his mental toughness
Yeah.
have allowed him to dominate his opponents and basically redefine what it means to be a world-class chess player.
And we've seen how he's not afraid to be in the spotlight.
Right.
And how that's made chess more popular.
Yeah.
And inspired new players.
It's been a really eye-opening journey.
It has.
So to anyone listening
Yeah.
who wants to learn more about Magnus Carlsen,
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you to check out the sources we've linked.
Definitely.
There's a ton of information out there
There is.
waiting to be discovered.
And remember, whether you're a chess pro or just starting out, there's always something new to learn from studying the best players.
Absolutely.
Magnus Carlsen's career is a perfect example of that.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of Magnus Carlsen.
Thanks for joining us.
We hope you enjoyed the ride and learned something new
Yeah,
about this fascinating and complex figure.
absolutely.
Until next time, keep those minds sharp.
Yeah,
And remember, every move matters.
every single one.